The Awakening. The exploration vessel Luminous Seeker drifted silently through the outer reaches of the Forbidden Sector, its sleek hull reflecting the dim light of distant stars. Captain Elix Ratha stood on the bridge, her four eyes scanning the void before them. The ship's crew, a mixed company of scientists and explorers from across the galactic consortium, monitored their stations with practiced efficiency. "We're approaching the quarantine boundary, Captain," announced First Officer Vril, his translucent appendages hovering over the navigation console. "Sector 3 to 17 lies just ahead." Elix's outer eyelids narrowed. "Proceed with caution. This region has been restricted for nearly 500 millennia." The Forbidden Sector had once housed an unremarkable yellow star with 8 planets. According to ancient records, the third planet had birthed a species called humans. Historical archives contained only fragments about these beings, their rise, brief expansion through their system, and sudden disappearance. Official records claimed they destroyed themselves in some catastrophic war, their homeworld rendered uninhabitable. "Unusual energy readings detected ahead, Captain," called out Science Officer Taza, her scaled digits dancing across her console. "Faint but consistent. The pattern suggests artificial origin." Elix frowned. "That's impossible. Nothing should be active in this system." "The signal is originating from the third planet," Taza continued. "It appears to be some kind of beacon." Curiosity overcame caution. "Set course for the third planet. Full sensor sweep." As the Luminous Seeker approached, the blue-green world came into view. Surface scans revealed vast oceans and landmasses covered in dense vegetation, not the barren wasteland described in consortium records. "Life readings are off the scale," Taza reported, her voice tinged with disbelief. "This ecosystem should be dead, according to our records." "The beacon signal is stronger now," Vril noted. "It's emanating from the northern continent." Elix made her decision. "Prepare a landing party. We're going down there." Hours later, the exploration team stood on Earth's surface for the first time in 500,000 years. The air was breathable but heavy with unfamiliar scents. Towering trees swayed in the gentle breeze, their enormous canopies blocking much of the sunlight. "These forests aren't natural," observed Taza, scanning a massive trunk. "The genetic structure has been engineered, designed to reclaim and purify the planet." They followed the beacon signal to a clearing where the ground abruptly gave way to a massive metallic surface. Centuries of soil and vegetation had been growing over it, but recent seismic activity had exposed a portion of what appeared to be an enormous door. "This structure extends at least 2 kilometers in each direction," Vril reported, consulting his scanner. "And it continues deep underground." Before anyone could respond, the ground trembled. With a deep, resonant groan, sections of the metal surface began to shift. Soil and vegetation cascaded away as the enormous door activated, its ancient mechanisms awakening after eons of dormancy. "Back to the shuttle," Elix commanded, but it was too late. The ground beneath them descended, carrying the team down into darkness. Emergency lights activated automatically, revealing they stood upon a massive platform sinking into the depths of an underground facility. The walls around them were lined with dormant machinery, their purpose unknown. When the platform finally stopped, they found themselves in a vast chamber. The space stretched beyond their light sources, its boundaries lost in shadow. "Stay together," Elix ordered, her hand resting on her weapon. As they ventured forward, lights began activating sequence by sequence, revealing the true scale of the chamber. It wasn't just a room. It was a hangar of impossible proportions, and within it stood row upon row of massive vessels, their hulls bearing the unmistakable marks of weapon systems. "A war fleet," whispered Vril. "Hundreds of ships." "Thousands," corrected Taza, her scanner struggling to count them all. The vessels were clearly designed for battle, but unlike anything in the consortium's archives. Their design philosophy was alien yet somehow elegant, emphasizing both power and efficiency. "These can't be human," said Elix. The historical records described their technology as primitive. The records were wrong, came a voice from nowhere and everywhere at once. The exploration team tensed as a figure materialized before them, a holographic representation of a bipedal being. Its form flickered and stabilized, revealing what could only be a human. The figure stood upright on two legs, with two arms and a head containing two forward-facing eyes. It wore what appeared to be a uniform of some kind. "I am Guardian, the Generalized Utility and Response Defense Intelligence and Network," the hologram announced. "This facility has remained dormant for 473,892 standard years, awaiting the conditions for reactivation." "What conditions?" Elix asked, finding her voice. "The return of the Devourers," Guardian replied simply. "We know nothing of these Devourers," Elix said. "We are explorers from the Galactic Consortium." The hologram studied them. Consortium. Interesting. Humanity's records contain no such organization. Humanity has been gone for 500,000 years, Tazat explained. The consortium formed long after their extinction. Extinction. Guardian's expression shifted to what might have been amusement. Humanity is not extinct, merely elsewhere. Before they could question this statement, the facility trembled. Alert signals blared, and Guardian's expression became grave. "They have returned sooner than calculated," the AI announced. The Devourers approached this system once more. Holographic displays activated throughout the chamber, showing the solar system and a massive distortion forming at its edge. Something was emerging from what appeared to be a form of faster-than-light travel unknown to the consortium. "What are the Devourers?" demanded Elix. "They are the reason humanity left this world," Guardian explained. "A species that consumes the resources of entire systems, stripping planets, harvesting stars, leaving nothing behind." More displays activated, showing historical footage of massive crystalline entities tearing into planets, extracting something from their cores. 500 millennia ago, humanity faced extinction. The Devourers had already consumed 17 colony worlds when they reached this system. Earth was next. "But they're still alive. Humans still exist," Vril asked incredulously. "Humanity enacted the Exodus Protocol," Guardian continued. "They abandoned their homeworld, but left behind automated defenses and a promise. They would return when they were strong enough to defeat the Devourers permanently." The displays showed huge vessels, arcs, carrying millions of humans beyond the edges of known space. "And now the Devourers have returned to finish what they started," Guardian concluded, "which means the defense protocol must activate, and humanity's promise will be tested." The facility shuddered again, more violently this time. Throughout the massive hangar, the dormant warships began powering up, their ancient systems awakening. "You should return to your vessel," Guardian advised. "This planet is about to become a battlefield." Elix stared at the displays showing the approaching threat. "Our ship is no match for those entities. We'd never escape the system in time." "Then you will witness what humanity has prepared," Guardian replied. "For 500,000 years, Earth has waited for this moment." As the platform began rising to return them to the surface, Guardian's form flickered once more. "The signal has been sent," the AI announced. "Humanity comes home." The return. The luminous seeker hung in high orbit, its sensors struggling to process the events unfolding throughout the solar system. The exploration team had barely managed to return to their vessel before Earth's automated defenses activated fully. Massive orbital platforms, hidden beneath the surfaces of moons and asteroids, had emerged and deployed. Ancient defense satellites awoke from their suspended states, and from deep within gas giants, enormous manufacturing facilities began producing combat drones at an impossible rate. "Those structures were there all along," Taza marveled, watching the displays. "Hiding in plain sight for 500,000 years." Captain Elix paced the bridge, her four eyes fixed on the tactical display, showing the approaching threat. The Devourers had fully emerged from their transport method, a swarm of crystalline entities ranging from small drone-like structures to massive world-ship-sized behemoths. They moved with singular purpose toward the inner planets. "We should flee while we can," urged Frill. "Whatever happens here is beyond our concern." "Knowledge of these devourers is absolutely our concern," Elix countered. "If they're as dangerous as Gardian claims, the consortium must be warned." "Captain," called the communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission, but it's not from Earth or the devourers. It's coming from beyond the system's edge." "On screen," Elix ordered. The main display shifted to show nothing, just empty space where the transmission originated. Then, space itself seemed to fold. A distortion rippled outward as a massive vessel materialized where nothing had been seconds before. Then another, and another. "Sweet mercy," whispered Frill. Ship after ship appeared, emerging from some unknown method of faster-than-light travel. They varied in design but shared common aesthetic elements with the dormant fleet they'd witnessed in Earth's underground hangar. These vessels, however, were clearly active and crewed. "Incoming transmission," announced the communications officer. The bridge display flickered, and a figure appeared, bipedal like the Gardian hologram, but clearly not a digital construct. This was a living being, mostly humanoid in appearance, but with subtle differences that hinted at centuries of adaptation and perhaps deliberate modification. Its skin had a slight blue tinge, its eyes were larger than those in historical records, and its proportions suggested adaptation to different gravitational conditions. "This is Admiral Kenavera Cruz of the United Human Defense Fleet," the figure announced in a clear, commanding voice. "Unknown vessel, you are in a designated combat zone. Identify yourself or withdraw immediately." Elix stepped forward. "I am Captain Elix Ratha of the Galactic Consortium exploration vessel Luminous Seeker. We discovered your world's signal and awakened your Gardian system." The human admiral's expression shifted slightly. "The Consortium. Guardian's databanks contain no record of such an organization. It formed long after your departure," Elix explained carefully. "Your species is considered extinct in our historical records." A brief smile touched the admiral's lips. "Reports of our extinction were greatly exaggerated. Captain Ratha, I must ask you to withdraw your vessel to minimum safe distance. What follows will be unlike anything your consortium has witnessed." Before Elix could respond, tactical alerts blared across the bridge. The devourers had detected the human fleet's arrival and changed course, accelerating toward the newcomers. "Too late for withdrawal," the admiral observed. "Your vessel's specifications suggest limited combat capability. Take position behind our defensive line. We will extend our shields to cover you." The transmission ended, and Elix quickly ordered her helmsman to comply. The Luminous Seeker maneuvered behind the imposing wall of human warships, which had formed a perfect defensive sphere around Earth. "Their coordination is impeccable," noted Frill, unable to hide his admiration. "Those ships move as a single organism. Energy readings are off-scale," reported Taza from the science station. "Their technology, it's beyond anything in consortium records." The battle began without preamble. The devourers launched their first wave, crystalline projectiles that broke apart into thousands of smaller attack drones. The human fleet responded with weapons that defied conventional physics. Directed energy beams that curved in impossible ways, gravitational distortions that crushed attacking swarms, and missiles that seemed to phase between dimensions. "They're not just fighting," Taza observed, her voice hushed with awe. "They're herding the devourers away from Earth." Indeed, the human fleet was executing a complex strategy, pushing the devourers toward what appeared to be empty space. Only when several of the crystal entities were maneuvered into position did the trap become clear. Massive gravitational weapons activated from hidden positions throughout the system, creating a localized distortion that began tearing the devourers apart. "A manufactured black hole," Taza whispered. "They'd weaponized space-time itself." The remaining devourers shifted tactics, combining into larger structures that proved more resistant to the human weapons. The largest of these, a crystalline mass nearly the size of a moon, began emitting energy pulses that disabled several human vessels. "Captain," the communications officer called out, "we're receiving a direct request from Admiral Veracruz. They're asking for our sensor data on the Devourers. Send it immediately." Elix commanded without hesitation. Within moments of transmitting their data, the human fleet adjusted their attack patterns. The weapons that had previously shown limited effect against the combined Devourer structures were recalibrated, striking at specific points identified in the Seeker's sensor readings. The crystalline entities began to fracture along previously invisible fault lines. The human fleet pressed their advantage, concentrating fire on these weaknesses until the massive structures shattered into thousands of fragments, which were quickly neutralized by smaller attack craft. In less than an hour, it was over. The Devourer swarm had been completely destroyed, with minimal losses to the human fleet. "They've won," Vril said, disbelief evident in his voice. "They actually defeated those things." "Captain," the communications officer announced, "Admiral Veracruz is requesting permission to send a delegation to our vessel." Elix straightened her uniform. "Permission granted. Prepare the main conference room." When the human delegation arrived, Elix was struck by how different they appeared from the historical records. Admiral Veracruz stood nearly 2 meters tall, her physique suggesting both natural evolution and careful genetic engineering. The others in her party showed similar adaptations, subtle variations that spoke of human subspecies adapted for different environments. "Captain Ratha," the admiral greeted, extending a hand in what Elix recognized as an ancient human gesture of greeting. "On behalf of the United Human Confederation, I thank you for your assistance." "We merely provided sensor data," Elix demurred. "Your fleet did the actual fighting." "Information is often the most valuable weapon," Veracruz replied. "Your consortium's sensor technology offered perspectives our systems hadn't considered. It may have saved many lives today." Elix gestured toward the conference table, and the two delegations seated themselves. "I must admit," Elix began, "your existence comes as quite a shock. Historical records indicate your species destroyed itself in some cataclysmic war." Admiral Veracruz nodded. "A convenient fiction we allowed to persist. When the Devourers first appeared 500 millennia ago, humanity wasn't ready to face them. Our technology was insufficient, our unity fragile. So we enacted the Exodus Protocol, a mass departure to deep space beyond the Devourers' detection range." "But you left behind defenses," Taza noted. "And guard iron." "Earth was never abandoned," Veracruz confirmed. "Merely preserved. While the bulk of humanity journeyed outward, evolving, advancing, preparing for the inevitable return of the Devourers." "And now?" asked Elix. "What happens now?" "Now," Veracruz said with a slight smile, "humanity returns to the galactic stage. Our exodus took us beyond the boundaries of what you call explored space. We've built worlds, forged alliances with species your consortium has yet to encounter, developed technologies based on principles your scientists haven't discovered." The implications were staggering. A spacefaring civilization with 500,000 years of advancement, returning to known space with technologies that bordered on the miraculous. "Admiral," Elix said carefully, "the Galactic Consortium encompasses over 300 species across 12,000 star systems. Your return, especially with technology of this level, will cause significant disruption." "Change always does," Veracruz acknowledged. "But we come in peace, at least to those who desire it. The Devourers were merely the first of several threats we've encountered in the dark between galaxies. Some are coming this way, and your consortium will need allies when they arrive." "You're proposing an alliance?" Vril asked. "Eventually," the Admiral replied. "For now, we propose an exchange. Knowledge, culture, history. Your consortium has developed along paths we never explored. There is much we can learn from each other." Elix considered the offer. As a consortium captain, she lacked the authority to make such arrangements, but she could certainly open the door. "I will convey your proposal to the consortium council," she said finally, "but I believe they will be receptive." Admiral Veracruz smiled. "Excellent. After 500 millennia of isolation, humanity is eager to make new friends." Her expression grew more serious. "We will need them for what lies ahead." As the meeting concluded and the human delegation prepared to depart, Elix found herself standing alone with Admiral Veracruz by the viewports, looking down at Earth, the ancient homeworld of a species that had refused extinction. "Was it worth it?" Elix asked quietly, "leaving your homeworld for so long?" Veracruz's gaze remained fixed on the blue-green planet below. "We never truly left, Captain. We merely took the long way home." She turned to Elix, her enhanced eyes reflecting starlight. "And we brought back everything we learned along the way." As the luminous seeker departed the Earth system the following day, its crew watched the human fleet begin the process of reoccupation. Massive colony ships emerged from fold space, carrying millions of returning humans. Terraforming vessels moved toward Mars and Venus, beginning the process of making them habitable. "Do you think the Consortium Council will approve an alliance?" Vril asked as they prepared for the long journey home. Elix watched the activity around Earth grow smaller on their view screen. "They would be fools not to. Humanity has returned from the abyss of extinction with power beyond our comprehension. Better to have them as friends than otherwise." "And these other threats the Admiral mentioned?" Taza wondered. "The ones coming this way." Elix had no answer for that, but as the luminous seeker accelerated away from the Sol system, she couldn't shake the feeling that the galaxy had fundamentally changed. Humanity, a species that had disappeared from history, had returned transformed. And whatever threats lurked in the darkness between stars, the humans had faced them and survived. Perhaps, Elix thought, that was the most remarkable thing about these beings. Not their technology or their strength, but their tenacity, their absolute refusal to accept defeat, even in the face of impossible odds. No wonder they had survived when so many others hadn't.